Hello, and welcome to the BYU Family History webinar series. I'm Maren, your host for this webinar, and we have announcements. Our next webinar will be next Thursday. That's on the 21st, and we'll be hearing from Angela Snickis, and she'll be presenting on Lithuanian research. That'll be next Thursday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time on the 21st. And if you'd like to rewatch any of our previous webinars, all of our webinars are recorded and uploaded to our YouTube page and to our website for your convenience. So if you'd like to share this video or if you would like to rewatch it, you're welcome to visit our website or our YouTube page to view that. During the webinar, if you have any technical problems, you can enter your concerns in the chat box and I can help you out with that. If that doesn't work, you can email at fhl_webinars@byu.edu. And you also can email about any other concerns, suggestions, or comments about the BYU Family History webinar series. Make sure that your video camera and your microphone is disabled to provide a smooth presentation. You're welcome to use the chat box for comments throughout the webinar. However, our Q&A session will be presented at the end of this webinar. For today's webinar, we're pleased to hear from Michael Hansen, and he'll be giving a presentation about book digitization and donation guidelines. What to do with old genealogical materials and can you donate them? He'll be answering those questions today. Michael Hansen works for FamilySearch and started here at BYU doing digital imaging projects, and he's been doing digital imaging for many years. He has lived in Rochester, New York, where he got his master's degree in printing, color science, and imaging science. After working out in New York for companies who did book scanning, he moved back to Utah in 2014 and got a job with FamilySearch to oversee their book scanning centers. So as we get things set up, just to remind everyone to turn their mics and their video cameras off, and then we'll turn the time over to Michael. It'll take just a second to get his slide up, but we appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. First, I would like to thank Joe Everett for the invitation to present to you today. And I'd like to thank Maren for the technical assistance. My name is Michael Hansen. I'm looking forward to presenting to you today on what to do with your genealogical materials. We get lots of questions about different types of materials and if they can donate them to the Family History Library and what else they can do with them as well. I am the Image Capture Operations Manager for North America for FamilySearch. And so I am going to talk a little bit about the digitization process as well. And first off, I'd like to welcome everybody and wish you a happy Valentine's Day. This is one of my favorite comics here. Kids are telling each other, you better be quiet or granddad will leave you out of the family history he's writing. Now, no one wants to be left out of the family history, right? And then here's Darth Vader looking on FamilySearch for the first time and he discovers, hey, Luke has a sister. And then done. Everyone in the family tree has been found and everything is perfectly organized, including the photos, said no genealogist ever. And then eventually all genealogists come to their senses. We create inspiring experiences that bring joy to all people as they discover, gather, and connect their family, past, present, and future. This is the goal of FamilySearch. This is our purpose that we all rally around, and we try to have this in everything that we do, in all aspects of what FamilySearch offers. And it's my hope that during this presentation, I'll be able to help inspire you and bring joy and help you know what you can do to donate your materials. Let's start with what you have in your trunk or your attic. You may have lots of different types of things that you may be asking what you can do with. They may be photographs. You might have different types of documents or records. Or maybe you're the kind of person that hasn't explored yet. So maybe you need to take a moment to go through your attic or go through your basement, find those types of documents, and then look to see what you can do to preserve them so that everybody can see those. Because if it's sitting in your trunk or if it's sitting in your attic, chances are you're probably the only one that knows about them, and there may be other family members that are looking for those. Some of the common types of things that you might have are books, hardcover or paperback, photographs, rare fragile documents, records of different types, military records, marriage records, those kinds of things, school photo books, autograph books, yearbooks, magazines, newspapers and newsletters, gazetteers, things like that, maps, posters and pictures, artwork and paintings. These are things you might have all in one box. And what we hope to be able to express to you today is what you can do with those different types of objects. Now, this building here on this slide is the Family History Library in Salt Lake City. This is the world's largest genealogical library. We have had times where people have come to the library on a Sunday and dropped off a filing cabinet right in front of the building. Or people will pull up in trucks, look around, empty out their records onto the sidewalk there, and then zoom away. My first suggestion is to not do that. We want to make sure that you know what you have and that you know what you can do with what you have. But this actually happened, so that's why I'm telling you. In addition to the Family History Library in Salt Lake, you also have the Church History Library. Both groups will accept donations, but there are some things to consider before you donate to either group. So at the Church History Library, they will accept journals, and specifically mission journals are important, letters, photographs, books, and artifacts. And typically it has to do something with church history. There is a web page that you can go to, history.lds.org/article/donations, where you can fill out a form and describe the types of items that you have, and they will get back to you. There's also an email and a phone number there. They'll get back to you on what items would likely be accepted into the collection and give you any instructions there or have you fill out any permission forms or anything like that. So it's just an easy one-stop location there for the Church History Library. Now, the Family History Library is a genealogical research library. It is not an archive, and it has no special collections area. And so there are a lot of things that you would think the Family History Library accepts, but in fact, it does not accept because it is not an archive. You can't just show up with an armful of family history material and expect the Family History Library to take it from you. So some of the things that they do accept are genealogical records, family histories, local histories, but the idea is that it has to have something to do with genealogical research. It has to have genealogical value. And then part of accepting the items is we try to scan everything at the Family History Library. So when you donate something, you have to include a permission form, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Here are some helpful questions that you can ask yourself. So the first question, if you're looking to donate something to the Family History Library, one of the first things you can ask yourself is, can you format your material like a book? Can you give it a title, an author, a publisher, and a date? Now, it doesn't have to be professionally published, but if you can answer those 4 questions, then there's a good chance that your item can be donated and scanned, and then cataloged and made available online. It helps if your material contains a written narrative, or if you can do up a summary of what it is that you're about to donate. Because on the other side of the equation, the catalogers get this material in their hands and they may know nothing about this individual or the items. And so any information that you can provide will be very, very helpful to everybody as they acquire it into the collection. Does the material specifically discuss a family or multiple families and the areas where they lived? If so, there's a good chance that it will be something of interest to be donated. Did you or a family member write the book? Or do you just own the book and you want everybody in the world to have a copy of your favorite genealogical research book? Well, actually, we get asked that question a lot. People will show up either at the library or at one of our scanning centers or at a conference somewhere and ask us, hey, can I get this book scanned? I want to make this available to everybody. And in fact, they had just bought it off of Amazon or somewhere and just thought it was a really good book to do research on. If you have a question about a book or a collection or photographs or materials or whatever, you can email books@FamilySearch.org and we will get back to you with answers on your questions. Although I will try to go over most of the common questions in this presentation. So hopefully that is a good launch pad for you. Some other things to keep in mind. If you do donate your materials, it's helpful to remove any binders, sheet protectors, and comb bindings that these materials might have, especially because they end up at the scanning center where the scanners are going to have to remove all of this type of binding materials anyways. Now you can keep things clipped together with binder clips or rubber bands or things like that. Don't staple them or anything, but you can keep things together. We do from time to time get asked about people who want to sell a family history or genealogical publication instead of just donating it. And if that's the case, then there is a different email that you get to email. So you have to send an official offer and a description of what it is that you're hoping to sell to the acquisitions department of the Family History Library. That's FHL-ACQ@FamilySearch.org. So just a couple of helpful notes for you. The items that you are hoping to donate must have a title, author, publisher, and publication date. If you do not know, we may be able to make an exception, but it has to be in a special circumstance, and we have to understand more about the book you're trying to donate. This is the minimum amount of information. We would like more information about the item, but this is the minimum amount of information that we need. If you have any questions, email books@FamilySearch.org. We'd like you to have a written summary or abstract of your item. We want to make sure that it's new information and not a duplicate. So the first thing we'd like you to do is go to Family Search, go up to Search, go down to Catalog, and search for your items in the catalog. Because if we already have it, then you don't need to donate your item to us. We're not looking for duplicates in most cases. Also, if it's in the catalog, there's a good chance we may have already scanned it, and that will save some time as well, and it may already be available in our FamilySearch Digital library. We want to make sure that your items do not violate current privacy and copyright laws. In the United States, for materials published or created in the United States in any format after 1978, they are automatically considered copyright protected, even if it's not indicated in there. Now, between the years 1924 and 1978, we can talk about that. If it doesn't say copyright, C with a circle, all rights reserved, there is a good chance we will be able to scan that and the library would accept it. If it's before 1924, it's automatically in the public domain, and that makes it really easy to scan and make available. For any copyrighted works, I should say for international publications, the rule is not the same. It's within 95 years. So if an item is copyright, it must include with it a signed permission form from the copyright owner. And I'll show you a copy of this in just a minute. We also want to avoid information about living people. The author will take sole responsibility for the availability of this information to the public, and that's part of the reason we have them sign a permission form. This is what the permission form looks like. If you email books@FamilySearch.org, we will email you back a copy of this permission form that you can sign. If the author or publisher is you can go ahead and sign it. If it's someone else who's alive, you actually have to get their permission, and either they will sign it saying they're the copyright owner, or if they are giving you permission, then you can sign it, but then you have to say you are an authorized representative of that person, or you have to say how you're related to that person if they're giving you permission to sign the form. If the person has passed on, or if the closest living relative is deceased, it passes on to the next of kin or the next person in the family, so that one of the children could sign it. Now, I'm not a copyright expert, I'll tell you that. So if you have questions about that, you can email books@familysearch.org, ask your question, and we will get back to you with the answer. I'm hoping that so far we've covered some of the basics that will help you get started as you think about the kinds of materials that you would like to donate. Now, the library reserves the right to accept or reject a donation, and that's typically determined by the staff or the administration or the expert genealogists that we have there. The library also reserves the right to digitize and publish the material online, which is why we have a signed permission form when we accept materials into the library. Now, please note, the library becomes the owner of the donated content, and not every donation will be accepted. So I just want to make that pretty clear. And also, I, for one, don't work in the library, so I have this information that has been taken from the FamilySearch Wiki and in speaking with library staff. So that's where this all comes from. So step number 1, visit the FamilySearch Wiki. If you've never heard of what the Wiki is, this will be your new best friend, because the Wiki has so much information about genealogy research and answers to common questions that you, after using it for just a little bit, you won't, or you'll wonder how you lived without it. It's that good. So the way you get to the Wiki is you go to FamilySearch.org and you go up to the help in the upper right-hand corner and then down to Research Wiki. Or you can just type www.familysearch.org/wiki. That's W-I-K-I. At the Wiki, you can ask or search for just about anything. And so in this particular case, if we type in donations, it'll take us to what we are hoping to find out. So this is what the Wiki looks like. The search box is right there next to the map. And you can just type in donations. This is what the donations page looks like. And a lot of what I've already told you is right here on the donations page. So if for some reason you're trying to take notes super furiously or wondering how you can get a copy of this presentation, even better, you could just go straight to Family Search to the Wiki, type in donations, and the information is right there. So hopefully that will be of great use to you. Now on that Wiki page, there's a link, and we've made it a little bit hidden, but it's to a PDF that we call the Family History Library Donation Guidelines. Now we are updating this document even as we speak. The team at the Family History Library, the new director, people in the cataloging team, the book scanning team, we're all getting together and we are updating this document. So watch for new guidelines to come, but this is what the current guidelines are. When you're ready to reach out, you can contact the library using this email address or the phone number or the mailing address that's on this slide. If you live close to the Family History Library, you're welcome to just pop in and ask them questions in person, and they're happy to talk with you and meet with you and to answer these questions in person as well. But there's the email address, the phone number, and the physical address of the building. So here's a quick summary. The items that you have that you're hoping to donate must be genealogical records or have genealogical value, family histories, and local histories. You must have the signed permission form from the copyright holder in order to digitize them. The first step is to go to the Family Search Wiki, type in donations. Then you contact the library at books@familysearch.org, send them an email, talk about the materials that you have, let them know that you're interested in donating them, and they will get back to you with either additional questions or the permission form or what the next steps are. And if you don't live in Utah, if you live somewhere else throughout the United States, then they will tell you or forward you to somebody who can let you know of the closest digital imaging center to where you live. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. And then once they're accepted, once it's good to go, you can bring your accepted items in person, or you can use the mailing address to mail your items in. So there's a quick summary. Now there's many reasons that you should look at scanning your items. First of all, the physical items that you have in your attic or your basement, or just out, on a shelf somewhere, those items can get lost or destroyed over time. If you have a scanned image of that item, then there's a lot you can do with that. The scanned images can be reproduced if you needed to make a reproduction or a replica of that item. You could use them in another variety of ways online. Scanned images can be shared with many people. FamilySearch will scan your items, and the images are preserved permanently in long-term storage. So that's one of the benefits of having FamilySearch scan your items. FamilySearch scanned images are published to the public with appropriate rights management. So when FamilySearch does put your item online, it has rights attached to it. And FamilySearch makes scanned books searchable online. So when it's a book that we're scanning, that we make available online, we turn it into a searchable book so that people around the world can start searching your books. So hopefully this is good information. So we'll keep going. So who can do the scanning? If you are interested in getting your stuff out there and getting it digitized so that everybody can have it, who can do the scanning? Well, you can. You can do the scanning either at home, or you can find a family history center locally that may have a photo scanner, a slide scanner, or a document scanner of some kind. And you can start right away. Or you can recruit your 10 best friends to come over and have a party. FamilySearch also offers some free services, and I'll talk about those in detail in just a moment. There are also vendors, companies out there that offer scanning services for a wide variety of items. It does cost money, but they do a really good job usually. And some of them may be located in the areas where you live. So if you start Googling digital imaging in the area where you live, hopefully you'll be able to find some companies that offer some document scanning and other types of high-end scanning. This is a picture of me in my favorite booth at RootsTech. RootsTech is the family history conference that's sponsored by FamilySearch at the Salt Palace every year. And we love to set up all of our equipment in what we call the book scan booth. And this year we have 61 volunteers helping us in our booth to scan items for people at the conference. So when they show up, they can bring their items. We will look through them and we'll say, hey, we need this in our collection, or hey, we've already got this. And then we will catalog them, scan them, process them into searchable items, and then publish them online right there in the booth. It's a pretty cool thing if you've never seen it. So there's my plug for RootsTech. If you haven't already signed up, come check us out. RootsTech is an event that you don't want to miss. These are the scanning systems that we use in the book scanning part of what we do. So we use machines called copybook machines that are very large and can handle large books, very thick books, flat items too, not just bound materials. And then we also have what we call Zeuchel machines that are medium-sized machines, but can handle most books as well. And then we have high-speed scanners that if we have a stack of pages, and sometimes fragile pages can go through there, but we try to image fragile documents on our larger format scanners. But the high-speed scanners can do thousands of pages in just a few minutes and will image both sides of a page at once. It makes it nice and easy. So if your items are in a binder, then all you have to do is take them out. And if they're in sheet protectors, we recommend that you take them out of the sheet protectors, and we'll put them through a high-speed scanner and we can scan them. This is a map of all of the FamilySearch book scanning centers that we have across the United States. And this year, for the first time ever, we're going international. So we're setting up new centers in Salem, Oregon, Phoenix, Arizona, Ottawa, Canada, and somewhere in Europe later this year. And so we find out how close you are to one of these scanning centers, and you can either mail your item or you can always send it into our our largest scanning center, which is in Salt Lake City in West Valley. Now, most of our scanning centers are inside of another library where we are doing a project for that library. But if you bring in 1 or 2 items, we'll slip it into the production and get your items scanned for you. And we'll have you sign the permission form and things like that. If you have 20 books, then we may not want to tie up that much time in the scanning center. We may make other arrangements with you to send your items into Salt Lake. If you have 100 books or 1,000 books, then let's talk and we'll try to figure out what to do with your collections and the best way to help you get it scanned. And I hope you remember what to do if you have questions. You email books@FamilySearch.org. There, hopefully that's an email you guys are always going to remember forever. And we've seen it all. We've seen 3,000-page books. I don't know who would actually do this, but in my digital image processing pipeline, I saw 2 books just a couple weeks ago that were over 10,000 pages each processing through. So we get a chance to scan books of a wide variety. We even come across books that have foldouts in them. And I'll tell you, the book is hiding behind one of those corners. I can't tell you which corner, but that's a very large foldout. And we get to figure out how to image it. If you have items like that, let us know in advance, please, before we discover it on our own, or we will be calling you to say, hey, this item, did you know this item had a huge foldout in it? Not too long ago, we also imaged some records in Carthage, Illinois, in a courthouse that's there. And this is a really cool project. This particular project contains the name of a lot of the Latter-day Saints that lived in Nauvoo. And there was even a volunteer in Florida that discovered an unsuspecting surprise in the book that she was digitizing. And that lizard is really, really thin now. I would not want to come across that lizard again. But you may find all kinds of things as you flip through the books. You'll find dried flowers. You'll find locks of hair. You might find crunched up spiders or something. So just prepare yourself. But it is a little bit like Indiana Jones going through your attic or through your basement. It's kind of fun. Now, the Family History Library will accept and scan family histories, local and county histories, autobiographies or biographies, journals that are older than 70 years, and we try to avoid names of any living individuals in those journals, family Bibles. We don't image the whole Bible, of course. We just scan the section that has the genealogy in it. And that could be either at the front or the middle or the back typically. And then we return that book to you. Indexes to records, we'll scan those. Yearbooks, maps, and atlases. And then we do accept digital submissions. So if you have a question about any of these items, there's a good chance maybe the Family History Library would accept it, but you need to reach out to them at books@FamilySearch.org. Now, the Family History Library will not accept family group sheets, fan charts. These are wonderful items. These are items we hope you're using, but the information that are contained in these items, we want to make sure that you get that into the family tree. So take some time, sit down with these items, and type this information into the tree. You may be able to help correct information in the tree that's not correct, or you may discover that what's in the tree is a more reliable source than just what you have on your family group sheet. So instead of just scanning it and publishing it for everybody to see, we want to make sure that you get the information into the tree. And that just rhymed. How about that? If you have newspapers or artifacts or souvenir, locks of hair, medallions, things like that, we don't typically accept those or scan those. Journals that mention living individuals, we really don't want anybody finding out they're adopted from the journal that you try to donate. Loose photos, albums, and scrapbooks. Correspondence and travel logs, obituaries, fiction and poetry. So grandma's favorite recipe book or her poetry that she wrote, those are definitely very, very important. And we'll talk about what to do with those. But those aren't the items that you would donate to the Family History Library, because the Family History Library is not an archive. It's a genealogical research library. They also will not accept negatives and slides or videos. Now, if you have donations that did not get accepted, so if you tried and then they got back to you and said, I'm sorry, what you could do is you could still digitize those and upload those files as sources or memories in FamilySearch, depending on the type of item that it is. You can find family members or friends to help you get those ready to upload. You could take your items to a local family history center and have them help you scan them and put the documents into FamilySearch. Or you could help organize a potential youth project or activity that would be a good scanning project if your project is big enough. This is a little snapshot of the web page in the wiki for the Lehigh, Utah FamilySearch Center. And they do have digitization equipment there: photo scanner, flatbed scanner, slide scanner. The things that FamilySearch would automatically do for you are things that qualify to be accepted and that we have permission to digitize. And then FamilySearch would go ahead and provide the volunteers to digitize that. If you have stuff that's outside that scope, you get to do the scanning or look for a company that would do the scanning in your area. And this is an example of one family history center that has a lot of equipment that you could reserve and go in there and use it. The information is here, but I'm going to go past this slide. So if you are interested in looking for a family history center near you, go to FamilySearch and then use the locator to find the family history center on a map that's closest to you, and reach out to them and ask them if they have equipment that you can use. We encourage you to upload your items to FamilySearch Memories. So when FamilySearch does the scanning for you, the items that they scan do not end up in memories. They end up in what we call the FamilySearch Digital Library. The digital library can be found by going up to Search and then down to Books. In Memories, it's a whole different game. So we want you to go up to Memories, and then you click the plus, the green plus that's right there in the middle of the screen. And when you do that, then you get to browse to the item that you want to upload, or you can drag and drop in. You can include records under that person. You can include a photo of their gravestone, photos of them when they were younger, letters, and those types of things. But Memories is what that's for, and that's a great place for that. The stuff we have in FamilySearch Digital Library, or the books collection, that may talk about more than one family or the area where they lived. And so there isn't one good spot for that book in Memories. So that's why there's two separate locations. Now, if you do use Memories and you upload your items, don't forget to tag your images. You can draw a little circle around a face and let us know who that face is. And that will become very important when other people try to search for that person, but they find the picture located under this person's page. So hopefully that's helpful. And then we have a step-by-step guide that guides you through what to do. I'm not expecting you to see this or read this or squint. It's on the wiki. So you go to Family Search, up to Help, and down to the Research Wiki, and you can look up Memories, the step-by-step guide, and get this. There's also an event that happens once a year, usually. It's called History in Your Attic, and it's something that BYU does in conjunction with the Mountain West Digital Library. And BYU has invited Family Search to participate in this for a few years now, where we take our equipment on site to your small town, and we will scan photos, slides, and books. We have all the equipment that's there. Now, the amazing, wonderful people at BYU will actually sit down and talk to you about your photographs and catalog them right there. And then they scan them. And if you have books as part of your collection, they send the books over to the Family Search section, where then it goes through the Family Search process. But that's called History in Your Attic. And you can see, if you go to the Harold B. Lee Library website and look up History in Your Attic, over on the right-hand side, all of the different collections are listed. And right now, in this little screenshot, you can see Tropic, Utah, Boulder, Utah. There's Moab. And if you use that scroll bar, it'll take you to some of the other items or collections that we have scanned. So watch for History in Your Attic, or let BYU know if you're interested. Now, the BYU Family History Library is also a wonderful resource for you. Now, what they do is they prefer that patrons donate their physical items to Family Search, but they will accept well-researched, published, bound family and local histories. But before you just start bringing them all, you must first contact Joe Everett, who's the Family and Local History Librarian, before you bring them or send the item. So reach out to Joe Everett. You can look up his contact information on the BYU website, and reach out to him and let him know the kinds of things that you're interested in donating to the BYU Family History Library. Now, they do not accept duplicates. So please, just like you would for Family Search's catalog, take the time to go to BYU's catalog and look up your item to see if you have, if they already have it. They do not accept electronic submissions or binders or boxes of research notes or scrapbooks. But they do have equipment that you can use. So at the BYU Family History Library, you can schedule a time to use a sheet feed scanner, a photo or slide scanner, a microfilm scanner. There's a fan chart scanner, and most of the scanning's free, but for some of the large format scanning, there is a small fee. And so you have to go to the BYU Library website, contact them if you have questions, or sign up for a time slot. Now, we do get asked questions about other groups in the area. So there are some vendors that I'm just going to tell you about really quickly. These are not endorsed by Family Search at all. It's just to help you hit the ground running with some ideas of places you could go to talk about getting your collection scanned if you can't come up to Family Search or to the BYU Family History Center to do it yourself. But the Provo City Library has a media center that also has a photo scanner, video transfer capabilities, and audio transfer capabilities. Allen's Camera is another company that has equipment. There's a group called We Can Scan that offers scanning services, and there's others too. In Ogden, there's a group called Larsen Digital that's really popular. We know we've recommended several people to go to Larsen Digital. In Salt Lake, there's others as well. Salt Lake City Document Scanning, Family Memories, and others. And then if you keep looking online, there's groups out on the East Coast, such as Preserving the Past and others that can help answer your questions. Now, if you have materials and you want to get a family history published, from time to time, we do get asked about that. So the Family History Library in Salt Lake does not organize your collection for you or publish books. if you have questions about publishing a family history, we encourage you to reach out to the BYU Print and Mail Service. They have an amazing resource and workshops for guiding you through creating family histories, and then a lot of options for publishing those and getting those bound, and they look really, really amazing. So check them out. And I want to thank you very much for allowing me to present to you today. I hope that this has been really good and informative for you. I will take some questions and encourage you also to send your questions to books@FamilySearch.org.
We'll take questions now. You can put that in the chat box. It'll take just a minute while we get set up for the Q&A. So you can just go ahead and type your questions in, and we'll answer those in just a moment. All right, looks like we have a question from Sandy. She asks, what about the resolution? What resolution is needed for each scanned page?
Now, that's a very good question. So the resolution that FamilySearch will scan is at 300 pixels per inch minimum. So that is the minimum resolution that we encourage you to scan. Now, you can scan it higher, especially if you're going to upload something to Memories, but 300 pixels per inch. But there is a file size limitation when you try to upload something to Memories. Right now, that file size is 15 megabytes. So when you upload to Memories, make sure that your image is less than 15 megabytes. And there's another question here about submitting items to the Church History Library. The Church History Library, the best thing that I can recommend to you is that if you have questions about donating something to them, and it has something to do with church history, then go to the Church History website. The form there, just fill that out. They do have people that will respond to you and ask you additional questions. I have a question here about different resolutions for photographs. If you are trying to scan a photograph and then reproduce it somewhere, 600 is more than adequate as a resolution for scanning. That would be just fine. But if you're going to scan and just make it available online, 300 pixels per inch is the minimum resolution that we would recommend. So it really depends on what you would like to do with your own photographs. So if you would like to have a permanent archival copy of your photographs, I would recommend saving it as a 600 pixels per inch TIFF image.
We have one more question from Frank. He asks, how do our local family history consultants obtain scanning equipment?
That's actually a very good question. I actually don't know the answer to that question. If they are interested in getting equipment, I don't know if they have to work through the stakes or if it depends on if it's a stake family history center or a regional family history center. It kind of depends, but I would talk to your local church leaders about that.
It looks like Frank was referring to family history centers instead of consultants.
Right. So different family history centers will have different resources that are available. Some may not even have equipment yet because they might be a small family history center located in the corner of a stake center somewhere, something like that. But reach out to your stake presidents and or talk to the consultants and see what equipment is available. But as far as acquiring equipment, I think it's up to the local leaders.
We have another question from Sandy. She asks, if I donate scanned Bible pages to Family Search collections, what is the best resolution and would those be sent via email?
If you have materials that have already been digitized, send us an email at books@FamilySearch.org. We want to make sure that your images are at least 300 pixels per inch in either color or grayscale. We do not accept bitonal images, which are just straight black and white.
All right, it looks like we that's all the time we have today for questions. Thank you so much. If you have any more questions, go ahead and stick them in the chat box and we'll get to those, but I'll move on to the end of the presentation for announcements. So like I said before, this presentation will be available on our website and our YouTube page. And the links that Michael mentioned, including the Church History Library link and the Wiki for Family Search and the History in Your Attic scanning event, all three of those links will be included with the post of this video in our YouTube page and on our website. So you can have access to those. So next webinar will be with Angela Sinixes. I'm assuming that is Eastern European, so excuse my pronunciation, but she'll be giving a presentation next week on Thursday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, and that'll be on Lithuanian research on the 21st. And if you have any comments or questions, you're welcome to email at fhl_webinars@byu.edu. If you need to get in contact with Joe Everett, you're welcome to email at that email, and I can forward you information on contacting Joe if you need that. And all other information about this webinar will be posted on our website. And I think that's all for announcements. We hope that you join us next Thursday to see Angela's presentation. Thank you so much and have a wonderful Valentine's evening.